All right. All right. We're live today for a little while at least. Let's get this start. Let's just get this going. All right. There we go. I'm gonna sign on and do a stream today. A couple hours maybe. Hopefully this is coming through. Gonna have to go do a couple things real quick while we get ready to start working here. Gonna have a pretty easy day today, maybe. We're gonna have a fun day today, I think. Oh, look at that.
Alright.
Gonna have a fun day today, I think. So we have a couple of fun ones and a real boring one to start. Now, the boring one is just gonna be us showing you, or me showing you how to walk through and do a joystick replacement on a Switch Lite, and then we're going to move into the fun stuff, which is finally replacing that Wi-Fi chip and hopefully having enough time to reball that RAM chip and see if we can get it to work. I'm doing a little self-promotion here real quick. Self-promotion is such a pain in the butt, let me tell you. I hate it. But it's the only way to let people know that I'm live and hopefully get some viewers in here. All right, well, that should take care of the really boring stuff. Nice try, cat, but that is my seat. Come on. I know you want to sit there. It says I've got no stream activity, but that's weird. Session expired. I don't know what that's all about. All right, well, let's just hop right into it and just start working on this Switch Lite here. Trying to keep an eye on the battery today. Keep fighting this freaking laptop, and I brought home a spare one this time just in case. I don't know. Maybe I'd try it out, see if it had better battery life. But it looks like right now things are going okay. We'll see how long that lasts. Alright, so obviously as the sticker or sticky has so noted, I do have a bad set of Joy-Cons on this particular unit. There we go. So this is a very, very easy fix. If you're good with a screwdriver, that's all you really need. The only special tool you need is a tri-wing tip, which if you buy replacement Joy-Cons, I think the majority of them come with a little cheap tri-wing screwdriver, so you don't even have to really worry about it. But these screws right here are your tri-wings in the back. They're the only screws that require the screwdriver. Nintendo is absolutely famous for using these things. They love them, and I think ever since the original Game Boy used tri-wing screws. They're a very minor attempt at security screws. Try to keep you from getting in there, but you can see how well that works. And we got some Phillips on the bottom and some Phillips on top. Now, this particular console that I'm working on right now is perfect. It was sold to me as broken, but the only thing broken about the dang thing is that it's missing the Joy-Con thumb grip covers, which you sort of can replace. I've never been happy with the way they come out. I think they look a little lumpy, so I usually just replace them. The Joy-Con from China, the Joy-Cons are about $1 a pop, so it really makes no sense to not just replace them. It's a lot easier. All right, so we got to separate the case halves, and I like to do this from the bottom. The speaker holes right here, which I'm grabbing on, which I don't know if you can really see, but they let you kind of get this working up, and then just kind of work along the sides and just kind of free them from the little minor plastic clips that they got. Just keep working your way up. There, you'll hear some popping, and that's okay. Always kind of makes me cringe a little bit because you feel like you're breaking something, but you're really not. And then just kind of pull the case out and lift up, because this headphone jack right here it's hard to say, but it kind of catches on the hole in the case in here, so you kind of gotta just angle it sort of and pull it up like that, and it'll all separate just nicely. Huh. Well. There seems to be some sort of, I don't know if y'all can see this, but there definitely seems to be some sort of liquid or something on this. So we might have a liquid damage console. Now when I did, see, like, I don't like, see how it's white? It could just be dust, could be corrosion, don't really know. We'll pull off and check the liquid indicator and take a look at the board. So we got some Phillips heads. Now, or technically they're JIS, or Japanese industrial screws, but we got one in the right hand corner, one in the middle. One at the top left here, they're all silver. And we do have one outlier on the metal shield. And that outlier is right here, and this is a brass screw, and these brass screws are much longer than the silver screws. So you got to remember where they go, because you don't want to put a brass screw where a silver screw is meant to go. But that should be it, and that will free the shield up. So you just kind of pop that sucker up. Well, looks just fine to me. Now, if some liquid did get in here, if that is the liquid, which I will absolutely clean up. It did not make it to the board, because that board is pristine. Okay, so set that aside. The next thing I like to do, and this is the safe thing to do, is unplug the battery. So if you grab a set of tweezers here, just make sure you grab all 3 wires. Try to get as close to the plug as possible, and just be careful of that. You don't want to pinch that flex cable and just lift up. Okay, So that's good. So now we continue with the Phillips head. Now here's the fun part. Actually, you know what? I'm going to do this while this is still screwed in. It's a little bit easier to get these off. Now these Wi-Fi antennas, try to grip at the base as close to the plug as possible, and just use a nice sort of rocking motion to pull that off. You don't want to rip that wire. You really don't want to have to replace those things. It's not fun. Now this connector right here that I just removed is very sensitive, so be very, very careful with that one. You do not want to rip the latch off of it, or you're going to be in for a world of hurt. Okay, at this point, yeah, we're good to go. We can just pop that up. That's the game card and audio jack. So most of the screws in this board are just going to be silver. And the good thing about Nintendo and their design is these screws are all kind of universal. So besides the brass screws, which you've got to pay attention for, you don't have to separate them besides that. Okay, so slowly getting the board undone here. Okay, so right here is another brass screw, right? To pretty much the left-hand screws on the side of the board past the heatsink, they're all going to be brass, and I'll show you here in a second some more. So this is a brass screw right there in the bottom left, and then holding the speaker to the board is another brass screw. And then up here on your shoulder buttons, you get 2 more brass screws. And that should be it for the brass screws. Now, when you pull the shoulder buttons off, there's 2 things that you got to be careful for. One, that little membrane right there likes to stick to the board a lot. Usually it comes up with the plastic assembly here. Lots of times it does stick to the board. Now there's a spring right here, and if it's fresh from the factory, that spring will be pretty well stuck on there. The moment that thing comes off it never gets stuck again, and you always have to watch out because it will shoot across the room and just disappear on you. And let me tell you, it is not fun trying to hunt one of those down. Now, if you lose that spring, you've effectively rendered that button inoperable. They're not impossible to source, but I think usually they make you buy the whole button. Could be wrong on that. I've never had to really replace one. I've been lucky in that I don't think I've lost one. Come close, but I'm pretty persistent when it comes to lost hardware, especially those guys, and I've managed to locate most of them. This is it's a very boring repair, but it's a pretty common one. You're going to either, if you use your console a lot, those rubber grips tend to disintegrate pretty quickly, I guess. It depends on your definition of quick, but they do disintegrate. I do see a lot come to me that are missing those thumb grips. And the other thing is the Joy-Cons themselves are not very well designed, and they're subject to drift. And you can recalibrate a couple of times to account for the drift, but eventually they get worn to the point where you just have to replace them. So you'll be doing what I'm doing right now. All right, so the game card reader is connected to a flex cable here. Pull that off, get all the screws out, and then just slide it out. Comes out as one nice little unit there. And so now we are left with our heatsink. This is secured by 3 JIS screws. And the one thing to note is that the foam up top of the fan is secured with little bit of glue. And the easiest way to get that up is to use a little bit of warm air to soften the glue, and then we kind of squish the foam off the glue. Now the actual heatsink itself does tend to kind of get stuck with thermal paste, so when we pull that off, we just got to be a little careful and not bend the heat pipe, because copper is pretty soft and it does tend to deform pretty easy. So yeah, just got to be careful about that. Get some brain juice going real quick. Okay, so what I like to do is get some hot air. If you don't have a hot air gun, hair dryer will do on low. For me, I'm right around 212 degrees Fahrenheit, which is like, I don't know, like 80 C or something like that, or 70 C. And so we just kind of warm this area up. Just go back and forth, back and forth. And then I have a little plastic tool here. You can use whatever, but the plastic tends not to scratch the soft aluminum. And then we're just going to squish that foam off the glue, and you'll start to see it move, and you'll see the strip of glue show up, and eventually it'll just kind of work its way off. Ooh. Huh. So I don't like to grab by the heat pipe. I actually kind of like to grab down here or here. Sometimes I do use the tool. Like I said, there you go. It tends to get sucked down. Okay. So now you're pretty much there. What I like to do is clean off the factory thermal paste with a paper towel. You don't have to, but since we're going to be replacing it, it's better to do it now. I do it now because if I don't, I will get the crap all over my hands. Okay, so all that's left, we have a Joy-Con connector. All these FPC cables will have a latch. This is the LCD right here. And you just need to move that latch gently so it opens up, and then you can slide the cable out with little to no effort. And this right here is the digitizer. Pull this out. This is actually what's called a ZIF socket, which means zero enforcement force. Very easy to slide in and out. And finally, we have our fan connector. Okay. So that concludes the motherboard, and we can now remove this from the shell. Use your fingers or your tweezers like I'm doing right now, and just kind of, there we go. Just kind of got to pop it up. Once you get it going, it's pretty easy to just pull out. And let's just double check, make sure I didn't miss any screws. Doesn't feel like it. There we go. The speaker might catch on you there a little bit. Okay. Set that aside since no work needs to get done on that, and we have exposed our first Joy-Con. Grab my spares here real quick so we have them on hand. Okay, so the left-hand side has the Joy-Con that you can see. I'm sure you can see that big silver box right here, and it is literally 2 screws. So what I like to do is just pull these out. And then these screws, they're slightly longer. And I mean, like, God, it's like maybe a millimeter longer, half millimeter. It is barely longer than the case screws. So while I'm working on the Joy-Cons, I usually set these aside in their own area. You want to kind of lift, because if it's resting on the actual Joy-Con, it'll just yeah, it's a pain in the butt. So lift the case up while you pull that out, and then, like, that's it. There you go. That is the Joy-Con right there. And then all you have to do is take your fresh Joy-Con, or gimbal as they're properly known. It's kind of funny that China individually bagged all these for me, which I guess I can't really be too upset about. Let's just get this one out of the bag while I'm thinking about it. Okay, let's set that off to the side. All right, so on the left-hand side, you want the ribbon cable on the left, and it'll be pointing up because it's gonna bend up and over, basically back this way, or through this hole, and then forward, and that's where the actual connector is. And so you just line. You want to line. See these two plastic ears right here, and there's two posts. Just line all that up, ensuring you keep the little dust cover in place. And then you take your screw here and screw it back in. I mean, it's not much more difficult than that, folks. Okay, there's one. Once you get one screwed in, you could let it rest back on the mat or the table again. It'll be held down in place for you just fine. There we go. All right, well, we have that in place. So now we can take our motherboard and get her put back in. And it's just basically reversing the process here. We won't completely do this. Just want to get it kind of started while we're here. Okay. So all these flex cables, they'll have a slot pretty much from where they're supposed to poke out of. So you just basically want to make sure they're on the top of the board. It can be a little bit of a pain to grab with the tweezers because there's not much to work with, and they're plastic, so they're pretty slick. Okay. And this guy right here, now the actual Joy-Con cable, you can just kind of bend on out. All right, and then that's the motherboard put back into place. And so basically now what I like to do is just grab a couple of screws here. And we'll get her held into place. Okay, one more. There. Okay, now the reason I kind of do it like that, it just keeps everything nice into place, and when we go to test this in a minute here, we're pretty much set up for success. Okay, so now we're going to move on to I'm sorry, I'm saying the left. It's left from this view, but technically that's the right Joy-Con, and this is the left Joy-Con. Now this is a daughter board, and this part's kind of a pain in the butt. It's not hard. It's just way more work than it should be, but it's the same deal, right? So there are some hidden screws on this one, unfortunately. So underneath this ribbon cable right here, we have a silver screw. And you got, like just with the main board, you're going to want to separate your silver and your brass screws. The difference here is it's hard for you to tell, but these silver screws are actually much longer than the motherboard silver screws. So you don't want to mix these up with the motherboard screws. Once you're comfortable working on these things, it's pretty easy to spot the difference, but until then, just do yourself a favor and keep the daughter board screws separate from your motherboard screws. It just makes things a little bit easier for yourself. So we got to pull out the speaker a little bit, and that exposes this brass screw and this brass screw. Now, also, I'm moving a little quick here. It's a good idea to just go ahead and pull out the you can leave the power flex. I tend to pull it out because if I don't, sometimes it rips out. It just makes me cringe when that happens because these flex cables are pretty fragile and they will tear. Okay, so now we got one more brass screw here. And then that leaves a silver screw. And then 2 more brass screws. And then we are done with the screws on the daughter board side for the daughter board. Now, just like the other side, your shoulder buttons are going to be held in by 2 brass screws. The same thing applies. When you pull off the second one, be careful of that spring, and you also don't want to lose the membrane on the actual shoulder button. Trigger, I guess, if you want to call this a trigger. Okay. I'm just looking at it, which is a little shiny, but I think it's just production. It's fine. Okay. Got that going. Now we're just going to pull off our Joy-Con connector right here. And that should free our daughter board. There we go. Okay, so this lists out a lot easier than the main board does. Set that aside. Oh, that's right. If you can see, the membrane's stuck here. But it's the same deal. The right, left, they're both, these Joy-Cons are both held in by 2 JIS or Phillips head screws. Set those aside. Lift the case up for the second screw, and then it just pops on through. And we pull it out and put it in our trash pile. Now this one, you want the ribbon cable facing down. If it faces up, it's going to be the wrong side of the board. So watch the backlight flex connector and just slot her into place. And it is the same deal. Match the ears up to the screw post, put a screw in one, and you can set it back down and get the second. A little shaky today. And the second screw goes in. And we are good. That is a replaced gimbal. So let's just peel this membrane off, do a quick little board inspection, just make sure there's no liquid or anything weird on it. There's not. And this one just slot it right there like so. Oh, I had it the wrong way. You want the black pads facing you, my fault. And it'll slot itself quite nicely over that membrane. Let's see here. Okay, so get this put in place. Okay. Now, if you remember, we had the head and silver screw down here, so we're going to do that one first. Strong magnet. Once we get this guy into place, kind of pull the speaker out again. Just be very careful. You don't want to rip that wire pull it off to the side like so. And it makes it a little bit easier to get that flex cable back into its home. I'm doing this the hard way. Okay. Yeah, actually, I like to use plastic more on these things than metal because you don't want to perforate that cable or damage it anyway. And it should slide into that connector just fine, very easily. Once you're sure you're good, just a little gentle pressure to push it down. And like this plastic part should rest over the cable to kind of keep things in place. And then this brass screw that holds, just like the other side, there's a brass screw that holds the speaker to the board. So get that all lined up. Slot the brass screw in. Okay. Oh, I moved too fast. I always do this. I always do this in this daughter board. This is why the daughter board is kind of a freaking pain. So this screw right here next to the Joy-Con connector, if you do the speaker before you do this screw, it's a pain. I mean, you can get it to work, but I think kind of mar the plastic up a little bit. You can kind of move this. I don't know. You can move the speaker and do it this way, but it's a lot easier just to do that screw first. Then we secure the speaker. Then we get our second brass screw here for the other side of the daughter board. And now remember the two in the middle. These two are going to be brass. Then we have our last silver screw. Oh, well, you know what's funny? I did not take that shoulder button out. Now you can get away with it. Just be careful. That micro switch up top. And so these two screws are going to be brass. And they're going to hold your shoulder buttons. Now remember, you have a left and a right shoulder button. And they do have to match. So this is the left. And there's a little plastic part right here which indexes in. And that'll kind of hold things into place for you as well. And so then we're going to grab our two brass screws. And then our second brass screw here. Okay. And we're going to do the same for the other side here. Now, this guy is a little dirty. I'm going to clean him real quick. I got to refill my alcohol containers today, I think. Getting a little low. This is some of the boring parts of repair. Just clean things up when you get a chance. While you have everything apart, a little alcohol and a little scrubbing. Always a good idea. I am almost out of Q-tips as well. Yeah, that comes right on up. Toothbrush with some alcohol and a Q-tip works wonders. Cleans up 99% of your messes here. That's what I like to call gamer gunk. Lord knows what the heck it is. This almost looks like it is juice. And again, be very careful of that spring. I know I'm off camera doing this, but really not much to be seen here. Yeah, I don't think this is as good as we're gonna get it. I want to know what the heck that is. Oh, look at that. Is that supposed to be like that? I guess it is. That's a new fan design for me. I don't know. That doesn't feel right. Oh, maybe I'm wrong. That is a perfect bend. So there's a 90-degree. There's that chunk taken out there. I'm just not used to seeing that. Where my brain tells me that's not right, but I guess it is. All right, so these could be kind of a pain here. You get the spring and the little square part, and then you just want to slot everything into its home, and just kind of spring a tap or two to really seat it, and then just make sure it clicks and bounces back, and then you're good to go. And take your other shoulder button here. Yeah, see, my battery's draining again. I don't freaking know why it does this. Much like the other shoulder button, there is a plastic peg to index things for you. Okay, and that one, if you remember, is 2 brass screws to secure it. Doing this the semi-hard way. Usually I hook up the ribbon cables first. I might have to pull this off, but it should be fine. Alright, so that's secured in. And the only reason that we do that is because our next bit is we're going to fire up the console here in just a second and go through a very quick input test. It's always in your best interest to test all the buttons and functionality as much as possible before you completely button things up, because that way if you've got to fix something or rejigger something, the board's pretty much apart and in a state where that's a lot easier for you to do, and you don't have to unscrew everything again. All right, so this LCD connector and cable, it's very, very sensitive. It should slide in with very little to no resistance. Sometimes you kind of gotta just push up a little bit on those 2 tabs to completely slot it in. Just be very careful. I normally use this plastic tool right here to push the lid down or the latch down. It's called a bail. They are very sensitive. The pin's bend easy. That latch itself will break, and if you break that latch, you pretty much have to replace the connector. I have been successful in getting the latch back on a handful of times. More often than not, I just find myself replacing the connector, and I'm just noticing a huge mistake I made. Well, we'll get to that in a second here. Okay, so that's looking good. We'll hook you in. So now that we come down to here, now this flex cable connects the daughter board to the main board, or the motherboard, or the logic board, whatever you want to call it. And what this is responsible for is just beyond it, right here, is the backlight circuit. And this sends the backlight voltage through this cable up this board into this guy. Now, if you notice, there's a gap here, but no cable. And that's because my dumbass trapped the cable beneath the board, and I don't. This is probably not very smart. I'm just going to see if I can maybe grab a hold of it. No. So, okay. So now I have to basically take this all apart again. Fun! So, folks, do yourself a favor. Make sure all your ribbon cables are present before you hook everything up again. The reason I'm not trying to dig it out is unfortunately that flex is directly soldered to the LCD or the backlight of the LCD. And if I damage that cable in any way, you ruin the backlight, and you have to replace the whole screen to get it fixed again. And that's a $35 repair. And it's not fun. Not something I recommend. I don't do them. I hate doing screen repairs. I mean, I can do them. The problem is that all the adhesive and all that stuff is such a royal pain to deal with. Okay, so we got that. We'll just do what we did before. Now, this time though, we're going to do that. There you go. That's how it should have been done. Okay, so while we got her open here, remember this guy's a hidden screw, slightly hidden screw, brass. And the guy down the southwest right here is a silver screw and also hidden. And this guy is a silver screw. And now we are going to hook our flex cable back up. Close that latch. And then get the speaker put into place. Alrighty. One more brass here. And we're going to grab our bumper. Okay, she's good. And 2 more brass screws. I mean, it's pretty quick to get it on and off. It just, I just did the job twice when I should have had to do it once. All right. Well, there we go. Now, got to make sure to hook up our Joy-Cons, or they definitely won't work. Now, the good thing about these is you can actually get the Joy-Cons on Amazon. They're still pretty cheap on Amazon. So I mean, if you're not really doing this as a hobby, you're just looking to fix your own console, you don't have to wait on China. You don't have to deal with China at all, actually. You can get them on Amazon for about $4 a pop, which is 4 times as expensive as what I paid. But if you're only doing 2 or whatever, it's worth it. So you don't have to wait. And if you do have an issue, you have a US seller to help you and Amazon to back you. China doesn't really offer that. Usually if you have a problem with your order, it's too bad, so sad, as they try to make you jump through hoops to get replacements, and they do that on purpose so they don't have to deal with you. And more often than not, it's just not worth the hassle unless you're spending a lot of money and you need to get that rectified. All right, so this is, like I said, this is the backlight circuit. And the other last little tiny thing I've got to do over here is we have to hook in our flex cable for the power button and volume buttons. Usually this one's a little bit easier to do when the board's out, and I always forget to do that. But just like every other flex cable, make sure the latch is up, and it should slide right in. I'm just gonna a little bit easier if you're looking at it straight down. There we go. She's hooked in. Now there is a little channel this cable's meant to sit in, and then if you look up here, this actual this little tiny board right here, there's a couple little plastic ears. It's meant to slide underneath, and that'll kind of keep it nice and as secure as possible. Okay. So then we're going to hook up our Wi-Fi antennas just because I want to test Wi-Fi while I'm in there, which I know was working before, but just in case. All right. And Joy-Con's hooked up over there. While I'm here though, I don't know what this is, but I am going to scrub it off. I really don't know what that stuff was. It's probably juice. That's my guess. It probably was some sort of juice. Felt a little sticky, but okay. Let's get the fan plugged in, even though it won't really matter, but just so I don't forget. Without the heat pipe on, the fan is kind of pretty much just useless. But if it does sense the CPU is getting hot or warm, more warm than it should be, then you should see it turn on, which is a nice little function test to make sure the fan's working. But there are other ways to achieve that. Okay, so now we are pretty much good to go. Digitizer, got our Joy-Cons hooked in, daughter cable, backlights for the power, and yeah. Now, since this is just well, you know what? I'm gonna do that actually. I mean, I'm pretty confident, and yeah. You could plug this in too as well, so you could do a game card test, but we'll save that for later. So now what we're going to have to do is actually hook the battery back up to the console, because this will not boot without a battery. What you don't want to do is you don't want to press down on the flex cable. Get your tweezers underneath and press down on the actual battery connector. It's okay to lightly hold a connector in place with the flex cable, but you don't want to push down on it, because the plastic will actually can cause a break in the circuits on the flex cable. So it's one thing to kind of like sort of gently press down, or just enough pressure to hold the plug in place, but everything should snap down. There we go. It's a pretty stiff connector, but if you use your tweezers and lay it nice and flat, good even pressure, it'll pop in place for you. Okay. I can't remember what the battery was with this, so for now, what we'll do is we'll just use USB power. Okay, we got 15 volts, 0.48. There's a battery charging symbol, so our light LCD is working. Signs of booting. Second switch logo. 43%. Okay, we're good. We don't need this. Yeah, buttons are working. Okay, see the Joy-Cons are working. So if you go to your system settings and then scroll all the way down to the bottom to controllers and sensors and hit A, and then come down here to calibrate control sticks. Depending on the software, the version you've got, you either tilt or you click in. So we're going to tilt. And now, see how it has a plus in the middle of the screen? You want to kind of just move the stick and let go, and it should snap. You should see they will need to get calibrated most likely, but you can see how now that's just a slight little circle still, and yeah, you could tell. That's okay. If you get that right out of the box, that's okay. And go back here real quick. I'm just going to test the other one. All we're testing for right now is just that we've got full range of motion and it's responding okay. If you have that situation where I had prior, what I suggest is just you could calibrate it, right? So you hit the X button. Let's go back and let's calibrate this one for you. You don't want it now while the heat pipes off. You really don't want to run the system for too long. You don't want to overheat it. Anyway, which is why I suggest waiting to do this step. But sometimes it's good to do it just to verify. So you hit X to calibrate, hit A to confirm, and then it's going to just make you go follow the on-screen prompts, right? Hold to the right and release. Hold down and release. Left and release. Up and release. And then it's going to make you go in a nice little clockwise circle, and boom. And so now, all that little funny business we were seeing before is gone. And you can do this with your existing Joy-Cons. If things get slightly out of whack, they'll let you recalibrate a couple times before the wear becomes too high for it to work and you just need to replace it. So now while we're still here, if you go down a couple more options to test input devices, hit A, test controller buttons, and then just go through all of your buttons. So A, B, Y, X, plus symbol, click in the thumbstick, then your shoulder buttons. Then we move to the other side, we got the minus key, your shoulder buttons, click in the thumbstick, then up, left, down, right, and you don't want to see anything else happen on the screen. No volume going up, no screen shutting off, any of that. If you do see that, then you've got an issue with the ribbon cable. And then this is a screen capture button. And I like to save the home button for N because this should take me to the home screen. All right. Last thing I like to do is go to the internet. Internet settings. And you should see your home network show up here, which this is my home network. Okay, just to verify that my Wi-Fi is working. And the last little thing I like to do, the very, very, very last little thing I like to do is you just check volume up works, volume down works, and then the screen closure button. One more time, open it up. All right. Now you can see right here, I've already tested these units, so I know that game card reader should be working, but that concludes changing your Joy-Cons. Now the only thing left to do is reassemble and screw in all your last little bits of screws. So let's get that going for y'all. Okay. So this is probably the easiest ribbon cable to install on the entire board. It's kind of hilarious. I don't know why, just so easy. They did a pretty good job here, making sure that there's lots of stress relief and strain relief on the audio on the game card reader, because you do put a decent amount of force to put a game in and out. So that's why there's a lot of silver screws all over here, is because they're trying to make sure that you don't flex that PCB and crack it. Because if you're flexing the fiberglass, eventually it is going to just break on you. But the way they have this design prevents the flex from happening. Quite nice, actually. The original Switch uses a little plastic piece, which I think they were kind of thinking to add it, just gave it a little bit more rigidity, but it's not on the Switch Lite models. That one went in a little weird, but we're okay. All right, so this guy has a screw in the top left here. Top right. And then one screw in the bottom left. And that concludes the game card reader. All right, so now if you remember, the left-hand side of the board here has all of our brass screws. So I start with the speaker connector. Main. Okay. And just to the left of the speaker, and then just slightly above the speaker to the left. Now we've gone ahead and screwed in our shoulder bumper there. Gamer gunk here. Let's see if we can't just get that to come off. There we go. Look at that. And we'll do the same thing over here. There's not much, but there's just a little bit of grime. Same thing. Just a little bit of alcohol and Q-tip, and we're good to go. Okay, now the fun part. Now we need the perfect amount of thermal paste. Right now I'm using Noctua NTH1. MX4 is probably the most popular. Truth be told, I'd say 99% of thermal paste out there will work just fine. Nice little line of it. Don't want to go too overboard, don't want to go too underboard. It's better to use a little bit more than not enough. Now, I don't know if this is an issue or not. I don't like to mix the thermal paste, so I also make sure to clean off. Now, and again, be careful with this. You want to be careful with this copper heat pipe. Don't want to put too much pressure and flex that pipe and bend it. You can mold it back. It just, copper is very soft and deforms very easily. So, you know, just use a light amount of pressure to kind of squeeze off this thermal paste here. Get it all over your mat too if you need. I don't know. I can't remember off the top of my head. I was pretty sure that you don't want to mix the varying thermal paste, but I could be wrong on that. I could just be an old wives' tale, or maybe something that applied back in like 1990, but not anymore. Regardless, I like to clean it off. A little bit of alcohol. Okay, should be good there. Then remember, I want to take this little bit of foam and kind of fold it away. If it's stuck to the heat pipe there, or the end of the heat pipe there, just pull it away from it, and then just stick everything back into place. It should slot right back in. And I like to just kind of do a little squish and move, kind of spread it around that bit of copper there, and then just line all the screw holes up. Now these are all silvers. All right. Everything should be good, back in place. Since the viscous durable place looks pretty good, I'm just gonna leave it be. You can scrape this off and then replace it with that. They want you to use a more thicker paste than what you normally use because it closes the gap. It deals with larger air gaps better. Most times just leaving this alone is absolutely fine. And then just make sure to press that foam down a little bit onto that glue strip. Now, I will say, watch this flex cable on the right. It does kind of tend to get caught. And then you want to make sure that when you do this, that plate is well aligned with all your screw holes. Okay, we're good to go there. So now, if you remember, the left-hand side of the case uses brass screws. What do we have here? One more brass screw, because that guy right here is brass. That's it. That's your last brass screw. And then the last three, the diagonal set of screws here, they're all silver. We start at the bottom right. Go to the middle. And with all these screws, they don't need to be more than finger tight, essentially. Just as soon as you feel a slight bit of resistance, you need to stop screwing. And that is how we do it. There you go. Okay. So we slide our make sure that cable's slotted properly. All right, looking good, looking good. And remember, this on those the board goes under the two plastic ears right here and here. Everything should be held nice in place. And now we can put our back cover on. Let's just take a quick look at this. Yeah, there's something in here. So what I'm going to do is just real quick. I have some alcohol in a spray bottle, like so. And then we'll just spray her down. And we're just kind of doing a quick little clean here. Whatever that sticky, juicy, liquidy shit was, we got pretty lucky, I guess. So I'm pretty famous for my mind for saying that two things in this world that a Nintendo Switch is allergic to, and that is children and liquid. And children with liquid is an especially dangerous combination. Alright, so we're just kind of scrubbing and cleaning up as best we can. These little shoulder wells do tend to collect a lot of dust and grime, so it's usually in your best interest to kind of just make sure they're cleaned out. I don't know what that was. It's like glue? I don't know. Huh. But we should be good here. Okay. Alright, so now putting this back on is not as easy as taking it off, but not that difficult. I have found, in my experience, that if you start with the top, and again, you want to kind of have things angled a little bit, you want to focus on that headphone jack getting slotted properly. So this right here, and you want the should see a nice seam when you get this done right. There should be the plastic shouldn't be bowed out in any weird way. And see, like right, it's hard to show on camera, but there's no perfect seam here. The plastic's kind of getting bowed out a little bit, and that's because they're kind of form fit. So if you don't get them positioned right, they don't slot into place very well, and they don't seal like you want them to. Well, you are just being a son of a bitch today, huh? No, it didn't really go like I wanted it to. Most times I don't have too much of an issue with this, but like today, this is the fan bit's kind of fighting me. I heard, if I remember right, someone has said that sometimes the metal shield itself causes to happen. But there's a little plastic slot, and then there's a little plastic slot right here at the fan. And those kind of have to get squished in together to form that good seal. So watch me struggle, huh? There we go. And then we just kind of squish everything together. And then, if you can see, it's hard to tell on camera, but everything should be nice and flush. Shouldn't have any bowing. You shouldn't have any gaps up here. It should just almost look like one solid piece of plastic. You should see the seam, but close enough, right? So I like to actually start here with the tri-wings. Now the tri-wings are the very, very long screws here. I think it makes it easier. Now remember, these are tri-wings. These screws are not very magnetic, so I like to put them in the hole by hand and then finish the job with the tool. Whereas with most other jobs, I actually like to stick the screw on the screwdriver first. Also, my big piece of advice with this is make sure you, as you can see, make sure you do it over a mat or a soft surface so that if the screw pops out, it won't hit a hard surface and bounce off into Narnia. You don't really want to lose these. It's not a huge deal if you miss one or two, but you know, why lose things that you shouldn't lose? Okay. And that would be all 4 tri-wing screwdrivers, or screw tips. Screws, folks. That's what I meant. Okay, and there's my Phillips here. So these tiny little bastards. Definitely do these over a mat or a towel or something. Same thing, drop them in the hole. Now with these screws, really focus on using as little force as possible. You absolutely do not want to strip these screw posts out at all, which is very easy to do on plastic parts. Because once you strip out the screw post, you'll never get a screw to sit in there again. It'll just constantly pop out on you. And we have 2 more left at the top. then like right there, just dropped it. Okay. Bingo, bango, bongo. Hit the button. First Nintendo logo. Second Nintendo logo. We are in business, folks. The only last little thing to do would be check a game on it, but I know it's working, so I'm just not going to bother right now. Let's see here. I've been streaming now for an hour and 13 minutes. So let's say so about like an hour start to finish. And that's with me like talking and guiding. If you really focus on getting it done, it's probably a little bit quicker of a job than that. But not bad. And that is good to go. So that's a completely fixed console, and I can add that to my for sale pile. And we're going to move on to the next bit of our day here. So let me just do some quick little cleanup, because this mat is now full of... At one point I tried to save these Joy-Cons thinking I might be able to rescue them some, but yeah, this is no. They're meant to be thrown away. Just put it that way. They're meant to be thrown away. You're not meant to repair them. They do not like to come apart very easily, and they definitely do not like to go back together. So once they're damaged, you just consider them to be toast, and you just replace them. All about fixing as much as you possibly can, but in that case, the juice was not worth the squeeze, especially for a part that cost $1. It wasn't worth the headache. We're just cleaning up all the residual thermal paste and crap on this mat. It has not come up. It probably would be in my interest to actually really clean this off good. That'll work for now. All right, folks, I'll be right back. I gotta step off for just a second here. Nature calls. Alright. Sorry about that. Okay, so I think what we're going to move on to now, new territory for me. I need to replace this Wi-Fi chip. So, a couple weeks ago, I got in a switch, which was way more damaged than I thought it was going to be. And one of the things that was damaged on it was a Wi-Fi antenna connector was completely fried. And that led me to discover that I do believe the actual Wi-Fi chip itself was fried. I'm just getting my soldering iron sponge here hydrated. Okay. And so I had to place an order with China, surprise, surprise, to get myself some new Wi-Fi chips. So finally, yesterday, after several weeks, these guys showed up. These are a Broadcom Wi-Fi chip. Now, there is some conflicting opinions on these chips. Some people say the Nintendo Switch uses a very specific firmware on the Wi-Fi chips, and that you have to pull them from existing boards to replace them. Now, the other school of thought here is that it's a Wi-Fi chip. It works. Just get the right one. So that's where we're at right now. Here's the board I'm about to work on. It's just barely hooked up. So this Wi-Fi chip is in a not so fun area. It's also a BGA chip. If you don't know what BGA means, BGA stands for ball grid array. And whereas most chips use either metal legs or flat pads to connect themselves to the board, these use very, very tiny solder balls. So when you replace them, you can't just throw them onto, if I wanted to pull one off the board, I can't just throw it back on the board without replacing all the solder balls. Sometimes you can get away with it if the chip has maybe 4 solder balls. You could possibly get away with it. And the big reason here is that, everything needs to be evenly spaced, and you don't want the balls to merge and all this other stuff. So that's why it's generally recommended that when you replace BGA chips, you either reball them, which is its own painful process, or you just replace them with brand new chips with balls pre-soldered on them, which is what I just did, or I'm going to do, hopefully. All right, there's the board removed from the case. Now, going to get you put into a vise here. Okay. And then we shall just get a better view for you. As you can see, I don't know, liquid damage or not. was also thinking that I was pretty sure it was whatever this is. If this is a MOSFET or I don't know. Was this one? This one wasn't looking too clever. One of these wasn't looking too clever when I looked at it last. Pretty sure it's that E5 one right here. So I might go ahead and try to replace this as well, too, if the chip itself doesn't fix it. But up here you can see the work that I did prior on this connector. So basically, we had whatever happened fried the trace here, and if you could see, this tiny little wire had to be jumped to this pad for this connector. And I did verify that I got continuity and all that good stuff, so we know we're good there. We just have to go ahead and try to replace this with a brand new chip, just to show you guys what we're working with here. Now, I also do need to verify these as well, but we'll just pop this. This is the new chip. And you can see these are all minuscule, microscopic solder balls. Now, there's no indexer on the bottom, so I'm hoping pretty sure. There we go. There's the dot. Okay. We'll set that off to the side there. Now you can see why this is such a pain in the butt. This thing is literally jam-packed full of passives. I'm thinking that's probably going to be the easiest way. These chips tend to be also very, very fragile. And here's what we're going to do. Add a little bit of flux. Well, no, we're not going to add any flux. Not now. You don't really need flux. All right. Really nothing to do but just go for it. One of these days I'll actually tear this goddamn workbench down and start using my brand new air station, which I've had for weeks now, and I haven't set up yet. And it's a much nicer air station than I'm using right now. We'll get there. I am admittedly a little lazy sometimes. That went splendidly. Now we will add a little flux to the board while it's still warm. Because what You don't want too much on there because, well, I'll probably end up doing it anyway. You'll end up floating the chip off the pads there. So now what we're going to do is find an appropriate solder tip. It should be okay, I think. Yeah, should get away with this one just fine. I like the thermal mass on this tip. Holds the heat well enough for this type of work. These types of pads tend to be a little sensitive. And so what we're going to do is we're going to add in, it's a little it's contradictory. I don't know what the proper word to use here is, but we're adding in solder to just take it off. But the leaded solder mixes with the unleaded solder. It makes it a lot easier to remove from the board. So I just get a nice little ball of solder on the tip here, and then we're just gonna basically just tap all these pads with the solder. Okay. Let's clean this off a little bit here. Okay, now we're gonna just take a small piece of solder braid. That's too much, way too much. You don't want to have too much because you don't want it to bump into a passive or whatever and knock it out of place there. Oh, dang it, just ruined that, didn't I? This should be fine. Yeah, see, even that I'm not a huge fan of how that frayed. Okay, so little tip here. If we use a little bit of hot air along with the soldering iron, it'll make things slightly easier on us. Yeah, you can see how that, just because that thing frayed on me. Probably clean my tip off enough there. That's what that looked like. Why it went so full so quick. I do like this wick. I could have sworn that when I bought it, though, people were like, "Yeah, it doesn't fray like other wicks do," but I find it's just as bad. But it's impregnated with with rosin, so once again, too much. Okay, that should be good. So basically, the goal here is we want all of these pads to be flat. So That's why we're wicking away all the existing solders. We want everything to be flat so the chip lies even. Boy, this stuff is just not cooperating with me, is it? Might have to do this the hard way. Just leave it on the reel here and see about. Now, when you're using the stuff, you kind of just want to let the braid just glide over the surface. You're not scrubbing, and I guess what I could have done is just soak them on the ends and solder itself. This stuff just frays, doesn't it? Yeah, this is an old trick I learned. So now you can see I've got the end of the braid. I put a little bit of the nice little dab of solder on. And that should hopefully keep things from fraying on us. Not really. I just got to be careful. We don't want to knock anything passes off. Alright, that flux is toast right now. Yep, see? Just like I did. Ah, dang it. That's why I hate using solder braid that's too long. I knocked off 2 passes, one of which I'm not sure I'm going to be able to get back. Multiple passes, actually, now that I'm looking at everything. Well, crap on crap. Let's take a look at the braid here and see if any of them are stuck. No? Well, I see one of them at the very least. See, like you can see, like right here, missing. Now, thankfully, I do have Hartz boards. Really can't tell if that is fried or not, but we'll probably just end up pulling those passes off of another board here. Now I do need to go find that board in particular. Okay, so we'll just take a look at this guy. Oh yeah. Well, we'll go look at those resistors and see what they measure at. It might just be like 1 or 10K. So let's just go grab some measurements real quick. Alrighty. Difficult, huh? Great. You know, I ordered a whole bunch of these resistors at one point, and I can't find them now. And they're the exact values that I need. And I literally can't find them now because I'm just an idiot. I don't know what the heck I did with them. I thought I had stuck them with, oh, is this them right here? Please be them. Yeah, no, dang, I got so excited for a second. So along with the backlight driver I got a week or two ago, I put on order a bunch of these resistors to help rebuild my my daughter boards, because there's such a weird 220 ohms, and I didn't have any of those, and so I ordered them, and then they just disappeared on me because I didn't put them away right away, which is a problem of mine. It tends to be why when I get stuff in, the first thing I do is just literally put them where they're supposed to be, because otherwise, just like I'm going through right now, I lose them. It's not huge of a deal because I can just, these should all be capacitors though. These are all capacitors. Along with the other project of mine. Well, you know, at the very least, what I'm going to do is just pull them off this board. But right now we've got so that resistor goes here. I can't see. I don't know what this crap is. Somehow like leech on some thermal paste or something? Okay. Just dry this alcohol off real fast and hopefully not blow that resistor away. They freaking annoying, though. All right, we're gonna try this. Okay. One more time here. It really just does not want to get straight on me, huh? Come on, Poke Jamie. Oh, I'm all over the place, aren't I? Oh, what's up, Vader? Right now I'm trying to replace this Wi-Fi chip, and I screwed up, which I kind of figured I was going to do, but come on. A little sticky. No, I don't want to lose you into there. No. Alright, well, we're going to have to two-fist this, huh? Alright. I mean, the good thing is like, honestly, most of these passes are just not entirely needed, but you definitely want them there. Big problem is this shield is being such a pain in my butt. Man, I don't know if I magnetize this or something. Like, it has been so sticky lately. Oh, that's great. Here it is. Okay. I'll try the tweezers, I guess. All right, we're gonna just see if we can get this to tack down, add some flux, and then see if maybe that'll flow it on. Or we'll just completely blow it off the board. Looking for it, looking for it. I'm assuming she's just gone. Oh, that's great too. I completely forgot. Singe that connector a little bit, huh? Probably need to go put a thermal pad over that, just in case. Trying to see if maybe it got stuck under the shield somewhere. There she be. Kind of surprised I found that. Okay, so I think we'll try the sticky way here. And that might be enough there to kind of hold things in place. All right, well, let's try this again. Hopefully I don't blow it off the freaking board again. Let's drop my airflow down some. I don't like that. See, this is just a problem. Everything wants to stick to something else. And actually, this does need to get shipped back to manual focus here. Kind of hoping maybe we can make this work here, huh? Alright, well that is soldered, just not good. Yeah, see, like, look at that. I need to stop. I need to stop right now and locate some thermal pads. Quickly making a mess of this job, which is always fun. They're around here somewhere, I promise. I just have to frickin' find them. This is supposed to be what I did before I started today, was organizing my bench and my kit again, and I did not do that, so now I can't find anything. I had a whole bag of thermal pads, and they're probably like somewhere stupid on the ground or something, and I can't find them. Come on. Where are you so I can stop melting this connector? Promise you, they're around here somewhere. I just cannot see them for the life of me. Part of me wonders if I partially cleaned up and stuck them somewhere, and now I just can't see them because Well, boy, I hope I didn't lose those because they're pretty important. One of these days I will be organized. They are escaping me at the moment. I might have to just put this whole job on hold until... Actually, you know what I might just do? I'm gonna wait till I could find those resistors again. Yeah, I can't find my thermal pads. And I do kind of need those. You can see that singeing on that connector right there is just not good. You don't... That's right at the limit of what I consider to be still usable. Anything much more than that, and that latch won't close right, which is not good. Son of a gun, man. These things were just always here. Thing is, I very rarely need them, and when I do need them, they just don't want to stay visible, huh? pads. I guess I could just try Kapton tape, but usually that's just not good enough. It's not really meant to be used for what it's being used for. Oh Lord, oh Lord, she gone. Yeah, I guess I'm gonna have to just do that tomorrow. Just make it my focus and clean and see if I can't locate all this missing gear that I need desperately. Sometimes things get shoved in weird spots, but I'm just not seeing them. Yeah, they're just not agreeing with me right now. Okay, well, I guess I can't get this done today. Not safely, anyway. Not until I find those thermal pads. And oh, is that them right there? No, it's not them. Damn it. So close. Yet, so far. Well, organization has never been one of my strong suits, so can't really say I'm all surprised that I'm missing half my crap. Does make me wonder if I end up throwing out those resistors by mistake, thinking they were just an empty stat bag, but well, whatever. I'm just gonna have to tear everything down and yeah, it sucks. Just doing some more looking around here. Sometimes things just get shoved in weird spots. So I need to move something temporarily. Nah, they're just gone. Gone. I am literally just gonna have to tear my bench apart and put it back together again and get actually organized. So that's cool. Well, I don't feel safe working on this right now. So I guess for the time being, what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna say this is for another time. Those Wi-Fi chips away. That is at least that's soldered on. We're gonna have to replace all those filters. I still don't know what happened to these two resistors right there. Maybe get lucky here. Hold on 1 second. Because if I can find them on the frickin', I might have just not realized it, but thought maybe I might have sucked it onto one of these things. If I could see them here, I could pull them off, but not looking to be the case. One more I can look at. Why, like, you know, and I called it too. And they fray like this, it just causes havoc, man. Because that hot wire is enough to melt the solder. And like, yeah, see. And the good news is it's mostly good. Good enough for me to solder ship on, I believe. Alright, well, like I said, because I'm damaging this connector beyond my liking, I really don't want to have to replace this port, and it's looking like I might have to. Well, okay, well, I don't want to fool with it any more than I have. I really would like to avoid replacing that, you know? That would be my ideal situation. Just take a look and make sure that's just dead. Alright, let's toss that. Okay, well, whatever. We're just gonna have to come back to this guy. And we'll get that done. I'll have to organize my bench. Organize my bench, find those thermal pads, and maybe find those resistors. That would be swell if I could find those resistors. Alright, well, I do have one more thing I think I'm going to try to get done today before I call it a day, because I'd like to try to keep these streams not 8 hours long. Alright, so last time I streamed, we were looking at this dock here, right? And this dock had no output for video, just a black screen. And I didn't really know too much about it, so I kind of wanted to do some research, and there is a chip on this board. This chip is called the SDTP2550. Right now, what this chip is responsible for is converting the mobility display port to HDMI. I did some searching, and well, I swear to you, this chip outside of the data sheets just does not exist. I even looking at China, I found 2 sellers selling that exact chip number, and they wanted close to $20 for one. And it might not seem like a lot of money, but for China and ordering from China, that's like a fortune. And I don't know. The weird thing about it is it didn't seem like some proprietary made for Nintendo chip. It was made by Mega Chips or STM. And they're a pretty prolific vendor of chips. And it was a pretty common chip. And so I just kept digging and digging and digging. And while I could never find that exact chip, I kept getting pushed to the SDDP2650. Look, and I even found a data sheet for the 2550 that had a buy button for it. But when I clicked the buy button, it took me to the page for the SDP 2650. So looking at this chip, what I noticed was they were identical, minus two things that I'm just kind of hoping don't matter. For one, the 2650 made no mention of mobility display port. Absolutely none. Unfortunately, it's just display port to HDMI, so that's a potential problem. The second problem is there's one little signal line, and on the 2550 it was AC to DC. 2650 it was DC to DC, and yeah, you don't. That's what's making me the most nervous. But what I've got going for me here is the fact that the board's dead. It ain't working right. So if I put this chip on and it fries the board because it's not using the right voltage type, well, big deal. I lost it. It wasn't working anyway, so oh well. So, for $8, it was worth a shot, I thought. And here's the right. So I believe this chip is actually sitting underneath this shield here. This is the HDMI port. And so now I've got to get all this crap ass solder off. And apparently this shield is a big old pain in the butt to get off. So let's have some fun. If I destroy it, I destroy it. If I get it fixed, I get it fixed. It's all a learning experience for me. This is the first time I've ever done this, so let's see what I can do. Let's see what I can do here. So let's start by trying to clean off some of all the solder here. A little bit of flux, a little bit of solder braid. Try to soak it up. I might have to go and start mixing some leaded solder in as well. Oh, shit. If you notice that controls the LEDs. So I think I'm going to have to come in from this angle like this so I don't just completely melt it like I almost did. Really should be using a board holder right now, but yeah, let's do that. Let's do that. All right, let's try this again here. All right, let's get some fresh wick because this got so used up so quick. There's a lot of solder on these tabs. Let's try this again here. Fresh braid. Alright, so let's do this the easy way then, I guess. We're going to flood these with some leaded solder. Leaded solder flows nicer and at a much lower temperature than unleaded solder. Now these are all just basic grounding stuff, so it's really not too important. But let's try to clean it up some, huh? Probably should actually be using some thicker solder braid here, but I don't have any, unfortunately, because I'm not really used to dealing with pads this big. Most of the stuff I deal with is so tiny it requires this thin braid. I'm starting to see the end here. On that left-hand side, you can kind of see the tab that we want to get out. Let's just get this soaked up here. Okay. So now, I think, is this completely smooth? I think I can. They weren't kidding. This shield is a bit of a pain here, huh? There we go. Gotta be careful. Yeah, this does not want to separate. I'm just looking at it here. This is just fighting me every step of the way, is it not? It sure is. Let's see if we can suck up some more of this solder with the braid then. Might end up just cutting this frickin' thing off. This is more of a experimental job here. I'm really more curious to see if this ship will work or not, more than anything else. Maybe I just cut it. Board's getting real hot too, yeah. don't want to melt that HDMI connector either, because then I'm really screwed, because I have 0 of those on hand. So I might just end up cutting this. Yeah, I might just cut this because I honestly don't care about it. It's not that needed for operations. Sorry, I'm just doing a little off-camera inspection and cleaning here. Board is scorching hot right now, so I can't really do anything anyway. Alright, so we can see, sort of see, because it's a little blurry for you guys, but part of me wants to keep trying, but I'm not sure how fruitful that will be. And I can't find my PokeJammy anywhere. Oh, there it is. Basically, I'm trying to direct the hot air away from that plastic connector. Aha! Okay. Well, after jamming my PokeJammy into my palm, ow, that kind of hurt, but you can see that's, oh, they're both free. Hey, somewhat free. So the thing is like, this is the problem more than anything. But what I might be able to do is just bend this. I'm just not certain how important this the shielding really is. We'll just, you know, this is just going to be a for me thing anyway, so if I get this to work, great. If I don't, I really don't care. I feel freaking, yeah, that's it. That is her. Now there are a whole bunch of other things underneath here. Take a look at. So we got this. Just does not want to finish breaking off for me here. This hurts my heart to do, just so y'all know. I freaking hate destructive engineering, so to speak. But she is free now and completely trashed. Let's get this out of the board holders for a minute or two. Oh, look, Foxconn. Hey, good old Foxconn. Alright, so let's just give everything a good old scrub here. It's nice and warm. Now we can go through, I guess we could keep testing some of these components before I go and replace this chip. Still, like part of me is like not convinced it is this chip. I'm really not convinced it is. I'm wondering if it's one of these hidden EMI filters right here. These are all diodes, it looks like. These big guys that I don't have replacements for could very well be the problem. I have to say, the legs, I mean, it's all factory. I mean, hey, sometimes the factory screws up, but just going through and doing the old solid test. Yeah. Just fine. Alright, well, next thing we do is grab our multimeter here, put her in a continuity mode. Now continuity mode means I get a nice beep when I have a connection between my leads, just like so. So with these filters, what we want is vertical connectivity. I should hear a beep when I do this, but not when I do this, not when I do this. So they want to go up and down, but not side to side, not diagonal. And see, what we could do is also just test on this pin. Perfect. It probably would be easier if this was in a board holder, but I'm lazy now. That looks good. Yeah, we're fine there. No, I thought, yeah. We are all good. Alright, so you can see the 2550 mega chip. And then what I've got, where I had, there it is. Oh, no, this won't work. I already tell you right now, this is a waste of money. That's what I figured. Look how big that is compared to this guy. Alright, well, you lied to me, datasheet. Oh well, what a waste of time. And money. Thought I might have been onto something cool there, but no, I'm completely wrong. I I swear to God, the data sheet said they're both an 81 ball grid array, but that definitely does not look. That is not the same. No, I guess they both could potentially be 81 balls, but wow, these are crappy looking solder balls too. Jeez. I guess they're leaded or unleaded. But yeah, obviously, obviously, that is not going to fit. So this is a waste of time and money. I mean, I could try to reflow it maybe. I don't know what that would really do, but yeah. And technically, it could be maybe this guy too, but yeah. Well, yeah, that kind of just killed it for me. So I'm just gonna call it and just say, hey, appreciate anybody who stopped by. Very sorry, it was very boring. I didn't really get anything done. But hopefully next time I stream, I'll be a little bit better set up to get the rest of the work done, and we can do the Wi-Fi chip on the Switch Lite, and then I'm going to attempt to reball the RAM for that other Switch I was working on. But unfortunately, this is it for me. So thank you, and hopefully I'll see you guys next week. Bye.